Hey, evening, people. Welcome to the show. The reason we had that introduction is because I have no control tonight, and Dave, I don't know what Dave's doing. He's forgotten, I think. And Lee is in control tonight, so this should be fun because Lee is not. I hope you don't mind me saying, Lee, but tech ain't your thing, mate. Do you know what I mean?
No, certainly not about as good as that referee, I think, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, what a nightmare. We're going to talk about that, man. And unbelievable. Someone's put why during the Formula One. I must admit, I was getting well into the Formula One, and then I thought, oh, it's 9. I better go and jump on a stream with Lee. Judges, let's get straight into it, man. Me and you watched it together in the AFTV studio. We both went a bit nuts when some of the decisions didn't go our way. A great goal from Granit Xhaka. A good goal, actually, it has to be said, by Southampton, which I don't think people have mentioned, to be fair. But there were more. There's more to it than that, mate. Some missed chances as far as Arsenal are concerned, and some shocking refereeing, Lee.
Yeah, listen, I get what everybody's saying about missed chances. I get about that. I really do. You know what I mean? We should have took our chances, yes. But ultimately, we've been refed today by an absolute clown. We've been cheated out of a game of football. I don't care what anybody says. You know, I've watched back the penalties. Let's have a listen. I'm going to be really honest about the penalties. You know, the Tierney one, I can see why it could have been given as a penalty, and I can see why not. When I see Song get a penalty last year and everybody going, it's a definite penalty, like, you know, when I didn't think it was last year, I'm quite willing to say, well, that one, maybe let that one go. The push on Ben White, we had one the other day for a foul. Maybe enough, maybe not. I don't like, you know, we're saying. But the Stonewall penalty that I've seen today, I want someone, whether it be on the FA or tomorrow or whatever, to come and tell me why that is not a penalty. I want to know why that was not a penalty. I watched Harry Kane make more of a meal out of a penalty last week, right, and score. I'm going to get wound up now. I watched Manchester City yesterday. I see that Bernard Silva initiate a penalty and VAR go back and get involved with no reason to, like, and then I see this penalty today and VAR have not got involved. When I see what I see yesterday, I see what I see over at Chelsea yesterday, Man United, it's a definite penalty. I want to know why VAR haven't got involved. Now, they got involved yesterday for Manchester City, didn't they? For no reason whatsoever. But why have they not got involved on this penalty today? Because the more I see it, the more and more, Dan, I'm getting wound up from it. It's an absolute joke of a decision. And then more and more importantly, I've just been watching the highlights of it. How many times was he manhandled today, Jesus, by this bloke? I've seen him now. I've watched him. He's punched Jesus twice. Now, when you think it's a hard punch or not, twice. Nothing. I've seen an attempted headbutt today. Nothing. I've seen Granit Xhaka put his head into someone's face and get sent off. It is an absolute joke what I am seeing. I see a bloke last week, Gabriel, get sent off and a penalty against us when he was fouled. VAR, yes, come back involved, but that official see that, and if there wasn't VAR, we would have been done last week on incompetence, crap refereeing. I've had enough of it now. What I've seen now, I've had enough of it. It's an absolute joke, Dan. Right? And I'll tell you, I'm furious what I've seen today. I'm furious that we messed up a little bit. I'm furious that we didn't take our chances. But I have now, unbelievably, had enough of what I've seen. That today, from a referee, is as scandalous and as corrupt as you've ever seen. I want someone tomorrow on that poxy Sky Sports Dermot Gallagher to come out and tell me why that wasn't a foul. Why he did not give that as a penalty. I want to know the reasons why. Because I'm telling you that now, there's no reason. It is a stonewall penalty. I have crap when people turn around and go, oh, Harry Kane's is definitely a penalty. Like, it was a penalty last week. I'm telling you that now. Like, but if that man got a penalty and we haven't today, like, you know what I mean? Now, what have we got to do to get a penalty, Dan? What have we got to do? Now, at the end of the day, the one of Jesus, I've heard people going, it was soft. He's kicked him in the ankle. It's a penalty. Whether you agree with it or not, it's a penalty in these. Let's just get back to the one where VAR got involved yesterday with Bernard Silva. No need for it. But that area on it. But with Arsenal today, nothing. It's like they've switched off and had a cup of tea and whatever, like, you know, I mean, not getting involved. I've had enough. I'm so wound up after watching it about 5 or 6 days today. I really am so wound up with what I've seen today. I'm so angry about why that wasn't given. And yes, people are going to make excuses, saying, oh, it's only, we've missed chances and all that. Like, if it's done its job properly, we get to 2-0. It's a different game, Dan. It's a different game. You know what I mean? The chances wouldn't have been so much pressure on it. I don't know, like, you know. And also, which you made a great point as well, he should have probably been sent off because he had no intentions of going for the ball. I see David Luiz trying to get out of the way of somebody a couple of seasons ago and a penalty given then. How many more before people are going to say, you know what, we've got, we might be right what's going on here, like, because no one can tell me today why that was not a penalty. And that is it. Sorry to go on, but that's how I feel.
No, I don't think you are going on, mate.
I really am so angry.
No, I can feel it, man, and I hear it as well. And you're not going on, you're talking facts. And I want to break some of these decisions down because there ain't much more to talk about, really, other than a great goal from Granit Xhaka, which I think, you know, has now been overlooked by some crazy decisions. And also the goal that they were worked. But let's talk about the penalty. That wasn't a penalty. Because for me, when Jesus goes through, it's clear that there's 3 or 4 parts of that movement that is a foul. It just seems to get worse and worse and worse. Now, if the ref don't believe that's a foul, Lee, fair play. Referees miss stuff, right? And that's why we brought this VAR in. So why has VAR not even looked at that? Why has VAR not said to the referee, you need to go and take a look at that? You might think it ain't a penalty still, but you need to go and look at it. We think it might be. So go and take a look. Why do we not get even walk over to the screen? Because I'm telling you this now, and I don't think this is corrupt, and I know you do, and I know me and you disagree with this, right? But I do know that if it was the other way around, he wouldn't have been able to wait to give him a penalty.
Yeah.
I'll bet you any money he would have given Southampton a penalty. If that is Gabriel against Shea Adams or Armstrong, he wouldn't have been able to wait to get it. Because we've already seen it last week. Couldn't wait to give a penalty, could he? The linesman couldn't wait to get Gabriel sent off. So why have we not even gone over to the screen? This is what I don't get. None of these referees or officials ever have to come out and explain why they made that decision. Even if it's a correct decision, if it's a debatable one, whatever. They never have to come out. You never hear from these officials. You never hear from these people in Stockley Park. Why are they not made to come out and say, this is what it is? Because what they'll say, Lee, is, well, we do it. We get Dermot Gallagher in the studio on Sky Sports News, and he explains why they all were. And he's just sticking up for his buddies. It's an absolute joke that today. I can't understand how anybody can sit there and explain to me that that is not a penalty, Lee.
No, I can't. Like, you know, and what winds me up more about it is, is that I've been talking in my group chat, and like, you know, that's what's wound me up even more was because someone did point that out and said, what about the one that Manchester City got yesterday? Like, you know what I mean? Like the actual game going on, the referee did, you know, listen, let's get it right. Probably Manchester City should have had a penalty about 20 minutes before that with the goalkeepers treading on Haaland's. If Jesus gets that penalty against Liverpool, I suppose that is a penalty, but they don't get involved, so you can, all right, it's maybe go along with that. Like, so what they do is they make it up. Do they like for the next one or something? Like, why is that? I've watched it 55 times, Dan. Right, it's not a penalty. There's no way it should be a penalty. He's actually kicked out him, like, you know what I mean? VAR. And what's annoyed me about it? Well, I've sat here watching Sky Sports News, right? They've not mentioned the penalty once. They've not shown it once. They've not shown it once. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's Arsenal, like, you know what I mean? I've had enough of it now, Dan. I've had enough of these decisions going against us, like, you know what I mean? It is a stonewall penalty. I see it when I see it live. I said, right, you know, I couldn't believe it. I actually thought genuinely that VAR was going to get involved because it was that bad. When they didn't, I couldn't believe it. And do you know what? You know, because you was there today. Spoiled it for me today. Because I actually knew that something was going to come from that. Like,
You did say that.
Like, I sat there, it spoiled it for me. I sat there. I wasn't the same because I knew that was going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? And yes, Yes, we missed chances afterwards. Yes, we certainly did. Jesus, people saying that they're worried about Jesus' form and all that. I'm not worried about his form. I thought we played really, really well today. This is a player that's playing without no protection, by the way. You know what I mean? You've only got to flick Harry Kane's ear, and he gets a booking. You know what I mean? Our centre forward's getting no protection whatsoever. Saka on the other side's getting no protection whatsoever. But listen, there were things that we could have done to make that better for us. So I admit that we should have perhaps took our chances. Wasn't ruthless enough. It's been a problem for us for a very, very long while. That's not down to Mikel Arteta, by the way. That's down to the personnel. We should have won that game by a lot more. Missed chances. But isn't it funny? Our fantastically well the officials done when the ball went out for the goal. Isn't it fantastic how well they got that? Isn't it fantastic that they see that? You know what I mean? Unbelievable,
Embarrassingly bad, mate. And I think that when you look at what went wrong official-wise, referee-wise, it's quite a lot. I'm not going to sit there and start blaming that as to reasons as to why we dropped points. But all I say is this. Forget missed chances. Forget Arsenal playing poorly in parts of the game. Forget Southampton throwing everything at us in the box, etc. When you look at a situation of being 1-0 up, 10 minutes of that game, Arsenal blitzed them. That decision happens. You make that decision and you send that guy off, give Arsenal a penalty. If we score it or not, it's a completely different game, judges. Because
100%.
They got 10 men. It might still be only 1-0 to the Arsenal. But that would be enough for us to take 3 points. So I'm not saying that everything needed to go our way to get 3 points, because sometimes it has to go people's way to get a bit lucky. And maybe we got a bit lucky last weekend. But it don't stop the inconsistent crap that we see week in, week out from these officials and from the referees. And I think that is the story of this weekend's game. And it shouldn't have been, Lee. It should have been Arsenal playing very well again. Arsenal looking really good in the first half. And it was enough in the second half. Didn't go so well, but it was enough to get 3 points. But still, we're talking about referee. And I think there was many more, in my opinion. Saka getting booked for diving when he didn't dive. I'm sorry, he got fouled, right? The other one, elbowed. Nothing happens. That number 4, I think he was. He was still on. Layaka, is it? I don't know his name. Absolute shambles. Yeah, to see him still on the pitch. Then you've got the Jesus one where he's tangling with him. I've seen so much today. Tierney as well. Ben White, I see him get shoved in the box. Nothing's happened. Tierney gets done in the box. Nothing seems to happen. But they couldn't wait, could they, to make sure that ball had gone over the line so Tierney couldn't cut it in, which was the correct decision, by the way.
Yeah, not saying one, but how well they done to see that, didn't they?
How well they done to see that one.
Fouled to see anything else. Fouled. But they got to see that. And by the way, the lines was on the other side. What a fantastic view and great eyesight that he's got. Give him a round of applause. You know what I mean? Because he got that right. He actually see that. You know what I mean? Listen, probably VAR would have got involved with it. And listen, we're not saying that it's the right decision. It weren't a goal. I take that on board. But ultimately, you know what I mean? So much was missed today. Well, if the linesman can see that, surely he can see that Saka was fouled. Go up to that ref and go, that's wrong. Look, I'm loving what Mikel's been doing this season. He hasn't come out and condemned that referee today. And, you know what I mean? I have to say that you have to applaud him from that. But I'm sure when he gets and sees that, he'll be fuming. He'll be fuming with that today. I am so, people will laugh and go, spitter and all that. No, it ain't you know what I mean? I've seen an elbow today. I've seen a player being punched. I don't know what they're only little punches, right? I've seen a game over at Cardiff and Swansea today. He smashes into him, he throws the ball at him, he's sent off, right? Yeah, rightly so, you know what I mean? I'm seeing then punches, elbows, little things nothing happening. I've seen an attempted headbutt today, you know what I mean? What you got to headbutt the bloke to actually get him sent off, because as far as I know, Dan, if I try and shoot you, it's attempted murder. I'm still going to go in prison for attempted murder. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's an attempted headbutt. You know what I mean? He's got to get sent off for it, you know what I mean? Nothing done. You know what I mean? But then when someone like Granit Xhaka does it, it's a sending off, I'm telling you, there is something going on with it. You know, you can look into the other things and all that, like, you know, but that is infuriating today. And you're right, because you actually made the point today. It's a sending off as well. Like, you know, it's a sending off. If it had tried to get the ball, you know, then it's not. There was no attempt to get the ball there, like, you know what I mean? No attempt whatsoever. So in theory, he should have been sent off as well. But there you go. You know, I've watched it so many times. You know what I mean? Like, you know, David Luiz trying to get out of the way of it. He clips his knee down and he gets sent off on a book. You know, and we get a penalty against us and we end up losing. It's laughable. It's laughable what I'm seeing. Like, you know what I mean?
Do you
And that
think
was a
tonight,
joke
Lee,
there today.
when they do it on Match of the Day, are they going to mention it, do you reckon?
No, no, like I hope not, because I won't be able to sleep, because I'll be punching pillars and whatever, like, in the night, like, you know what I mean? I'm so wound up by it because it's just frustration and all that, like, do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? The only good thing is today, like, Spurs lost and they all got soaked. That's the only thing that I can be pleased with, like, at the end of it, like, you know.
Yeah, I suppose so. And Chelsea and United dropping points, Spurs losing, it's actually not been horrendously bad. You know, it could have been a hell of a lot worse, but it is frustrating we didn't take 3 points. Let's move away from the referee and let's look at some of the performances individually and as a team.
Yeah.
I thought first 10 minutes, mate, I thought we were really good, Lee. We came out and we were brilliant. I thought it was some of the best football we've played in a long time in the first 10 minutes of the game. Got the goal, which was a great piece of work down the right-hand side by Ben White and by Saka. Great. I thought Ben White was brilliant, by the way. I don't know why the hell he come off. I thought him and Martinelli were fantastic. They both got subbed. I don't really
Piss
understand
poor
that.
substitutions today. Piss
Awful.
poor.
Awful. But he crosses it into Granit Xhaka, who I thought, again, was probably the other third best player on the pitch, or one of the three best players on the pitch, should I say. Fantastic goal. We go 1-0 up, and let's be honest, we are actually really looking good. And then the penalty incident happens. And once that goes not our way, Lee, the rest of the game, it just didn't feel, like you said, you thought, it's not going to go our way. I kind of felt that. And that wasn't because I was sitting next to you and you telling me that. It felt everything around us just didn't really come off for us. And some of that was down to lack of taking our chances. Now, I have to look at Odegaard again, and I have to look at Jesus. Odegaard in the first half, he's not even at the target, Lee. He's dragged it wide. That is piss poor from him. I'm sorry. He's been terrible for 4 games now? When are we going to start asking, what's happened to your form, Martin? Because somebody called Maddison keeps scoring, and everyone said he is nowhere near as good as. I would take Maddison all day of the week still, and he keeps proving me why. He's banging in goals every single game for a crap side, by the way. They were down in a relegation battle. He scored again today, Maddison. So this guy, every single bloody time he shoots, it's a little tap or a scuff wide, or he don't hit it hard enough, or it just rolls to the keeper. I'm getting pissed off with it, Lee. I really am. I'm starting to get really annoyed with him.
He didn't have one of his better games today again, like, you know what I mean? I will say he works hard, but we were saying this about
100% he
Lacazette.
does.
Like, we were saying about this about Lacazette. He's there to do that. He created a couple of good chances last couple of assists with some lovely little balls, but he's got to improve on his final third you know, contributions, you know what I mean? Like, you know, when it didn't matter, it was a fantastic finish, but he had the chance of that in the first half, you know what I mean? Like, put it wide, you know, and I make you right. He's got to be a little bit more telling his positions. I think he done okay today, but I know what you're saying. Like, when it really mattered, he was poor, and he's got to improve on that, like, you know, and yeah, I'm with you on that. He didn't play particularly well. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Worked very, very hard, but when it crucial moments in the game, like Jesus, failed. Can't say any more than that. Really.
Well, that's the next one I want to go on to is Jesus, because I really like the lad, and to be fair, I really like Odegaard. But when they're wasteful, it does frustrate the hell out of us. When I look at what Jesus is, I love everything about him, Lee. I really do. I love his work rate. I love his touches. I love his link-up play. I love the fact that he's trying to give all he can to the club and he works hard. He was getting manhandled throughout most of that game. He was getting fouled a lot throughout most of that game, and he was still trying. He was still being as strong as he could. But there were a couple of opportunities where he weren't being fouled and manhandled, and he fluffed them. Excuse me. And it's starting to worry me a bit, because he's going through, and I don't have the confidence I used to when he went through. And I think because he's not on form anymore, when I say on anymore, he's not been scoring of late. I think we're starting to be a bit, I don't know, maybe we're just not as confident with him at the moment, and maybe his confidence is lacking. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, I just think he needs a goal. You know what I mean? I think he's doing really, really well. Snatched at a couple of chances. Even that one when he went through today, didn't hit it clean enough for me. Like, beginning of the season, he'd have smashed that in and all that. Like, listen, he's still doing really, really well. But I think, and I've been watching him, he's missed a few chances every game. He's been missing a few, and I think it's in his head now as well. Like, you know what I mean? So that's why I was, I'm desperate for him to score. So he's got to do it next week against Forest, and he will do. He'll score a few goals and everything like that. So I do think that he relies on energy and everything there. Playing Thursday, playing again today. Like, I think he needs a rest. I think a few of them do now. Like, I don't know what someone put in the chat earlier on, and I think it's a great point. Play a very, very young weekend, so I don't care if we lose on Thursday night. You know what I mean? And then make sure we get the job done in Zurich. You know what I mean? If we beat Zurich, we're through. And I do think with the Zurich game though, and that's it. The flip side to it is that comes in between the Wolves and the Chelsea away game. So, do we get the job done this time so that we can rest everybody for that game there? It's a real big call, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I watched Harry Kane today or see bits of it. He's played every single minute. You know what I mean? People ain't turning around and saying that he should be rested and whatever, I just think he needs a goal. I think, if I'll be honest, Harry Kane was poor today. I didn't think he was great, what I see of him, but he's nicked a goal. So what would you want? Someone that's playing really well and not scoring, or someone that's not playing well and scoring? It's a real fine balance. But
yeah, 100.
For me, listen, look, the trip on this midweek, it's an hour's flight. You know what I mean? For them on a jet ain't the end of the world. So maybe take them out there, but don't necessarily play. I don't really know what to do about it. But the 3 players coming on today, well, they were just let me down. Vieira was awful when he come on. You know what I mean? Eddie was awful when he come on, So I will say this though, also, did he get it right? Well, you got a little bit of stick for it on the watch along today. I thought when Tierney come on, by the way, I didn't say he was awful because I thought that we got back control of the game when he come on. We looked more dangerous when he come on, you know what I mean? I just think that, and that was with taking Martinelli off. If we'd have kept Martinelli on with Tierney, I think we probably would have gone on and maybe got something.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't really understand what that decision was, Dan. You know what I mean? I don't want to criticise Mikel because, we've dropped 5 points now, and I think he's had a massive contribution with those 5 points with the substitutions that he's made. And again today, I just don't understand what he was doing. If you're going to bring Eddie on, and people are slagging Eddie off, right? You know what I mean? I'm trying to defend him on Twitter for a little while, you know what I mean? If you're you can't ask him to come on and play left wing. I'm sorry, you know what I mean? You're asking, he's under pressure to do well and score goals, and you're chucking him out there on the left wing. I don't get that. I really don't get that.
Listen, I think you're fair in what you say about Arteta costing us the 5 points that we've dropped. I get that, but he's also responsible for getting us the top of the league that we've got. So I think, you're fair in what you've said there, but he does deserve credit for what he's done in relation to that. What I will say is the substitutions. I ain't being funny, Lee, but who's he got on the bench? Like, the players as he got on the bench just ain't good enough, mate. I'm sorry. Tierney's come on, should have started him up in anyway. You know why I thought that. I think this experiment with Tomiyasu is not working at the moment. I think it worked against Salah, but let's be honest, Stephen McKenna, or whatever his name is, at Forest kept Salah quiet. That wasn't a masterstroke. Do you know what I mean? Salah's been crap for most of the season. So it weren't Tomiyasu who's kept Salah quiet. That means he's undroppable now. and everybody who comes near him is not as good as Salah, when actually it's quite a few players that are better than Salah at the moment. So for me, mate, I think with Tommy Asu playing there, I think it's got to stop now. Tierney come on was so much more better. Him and Martinelli I'd have loved to have seen, because I thought Martinelli was brilliant driving at players. Ben White thought played really well. He seemed to get subbed, and I don't know if that was a knock or he weren't well or something. People were talking about Martinelli not being well or something. That's why he's come off. But the players that come on, Lee, Vieira, I don't know. He needs more time for me, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing, mate. He's very lightweight. He don't look suited to the league. He looked awful when he come on. He played well against Bodo Glimt, got man of the match at home, but I ain't seen him play another good game yet. Like against Brentford, was it the goal he scored? And he looked pretty good when he come on and scored a wonder goal. I ain't seen those performances since then. So he needs to get into it. If he's £37 million player, he don't look like one. With Eddie, I mean, I don't know what was going on with that decision. It looked like it just killed the game dead. There was no threat once he come on. And I don't know what it is with him. Like, I've never got him. I've never looked at him and go, tell you what, you are right up there potentially with the Arsenal's top strikers. I want to see it at this club. You will go. When we look back in history, Eddie Nketiah will be up there with the Carnus and Wiltords. Don't see it. Don't get it. I'm sorry, people.
No.
You might think I'm negative, but that's just me.
No, I don't think you're negative when you say that. He's a squad player, and that's what he is. You know what I mean? Like, he ain't never, people are going, oh, he ain't good enough. Well, we know he's not good enough to play for the Arsenal. We know that on a regular basis. We look at, we've got someone like Jesus in now, and but listen, he done very, very well at Chelsea last season, and there's potentially that he can do well. He can finish. He had a good chance today, but you have to give the defender credit and all that. But for me, if you're going to put Eddie on, putting him on the left wing is not fair on him. Like, you know what I mean? I really don't think that's fair. And again, people like, I get all the people that praise Mikel Arteta, like, great, you know what I mean, like that. Well, come on here now, or come on now and say what was the meaning of that substitution today, because it didn't work. It clearly didn't work, and I don't really understand why he did. And why take Martinelli off, who always looks dangerous? I look at other teams. You may think like Mo Salah's not playing very well, but hardly comes off because you know that he might nick a goal. You know what I mean? Ian Wright in his day might nick a goal. Why, Saka, why is Saka staying all the time? Because the reason is he might create something, Dan, you know what I mean? And I do think that's the same with Martinelli, like, you know what I mean? And to me today, I wouldn't have changed it. I would have kept Martinelli on there. And
why did he change it? I was going to ask you, Lee, why did he make subs?
I don't know. I don't think that he needed to today. I just felt that we was... Maybe
is there something we don't know about, though? Is there a knock? Is he ill? People talk about Martinelli not being well.
You know what I mean?
That might be that. I don't know. It's just mad.
He may well be. He's not trained as much, like, you know what I mean, and for whatever reason. So we don't know, like, So you just have to say that it's one of those things and all that. Listen, it wasn't because of that we dropped the points. It was when we went 1-1. We didn't really look like... I just felt that when we got the ball, it's been natural for us to read it to Martinelli and can take a couple of players on cutting. When we got the ball out of there, they didn't know what they was doing. We just lacked ideas. And, I'm worried about what's going to go on there, Lisa. We've got 3 games coming up now. Forest is not going to be easy by any chalk of the imagination. Like a home game, it's going to be tough. And then 2 away games. And Wolves are in all sorts of trouble at the moment, but you can guarantee by the time that we take them on, there'll be a new manager in place and things like that. And the Chelsea game, we've got to be able to play like we did for the first half in 2 halves. The 2 halves over the last 2 games, Dan, have been poor. Leeds today, you know what I mean? Like, I actually walked away from Leeds thinking, they're a really good side. It was a really, really good, and they've got beat today. They've got beat on Wednesday. That they're not as good as what they are. And all of a sudden now, like, I'm thinking, well, that was a bit of a worrying performance. And the second half today was very, very worrying against a team that I didn't think were that great today, like Southampton. I'll be honest. You know what I mean? I didn't think that they didn't really show too much of a threat. if I'll be honest. They did get a good goal, I'll give them that, but ultimately we were our own worst enemy by the chances we've missed. And I do think like that, not being able to raise it second half. And I do think that this is a big problem at this moment in time. I've said it before, people like El Neni injured at the moment, they'd be playing in the Europa League, and they're not, you know what I mean? We're having to play Granit Xhaka. Look how well Thomas Partey played today until he tired. He was like, we said that, didn't we? Like, you know what I mean? Marco comes on here, like, you know what I mean? Also said he was like running 3/4 at the end, like, you know, he was, because he was absolutely shattered. He still can't, he hasn't got his fitness levels up to where it needs to be going at the moment. So maybe there's a reason in that, you know, his performance, his fitness drops off, and so does the Arsenal performance, because that first half he was totally dominant, you know. So we've got to get him fit, but you know, we ain't going to play him surely on Thursday. You know what I mean? So you know, we've got to go with probably Granit Xhaka again, who's running himself into the ground at this moment in time. Like, and don't forget, with Granit Xhaka, he's also got to go on to the World Cup next month as well. Like, you know, I just you know, there were signs last week that made me worried, and they are now. And I'm not buying into this. Because it's Thursdays and Sundays and everything like that. Like, we've been able to rest a few players, you know what I mean? Like, Rob Holding will come in this game. Like, you know, we are resting a few players, but it seems to be the same players, you know. So, listen, for me, I don't know, you know, certainly some of those players have got to get a rest on that. But I look at the substitutions today, and I just feel, did you make them substitutions for the sake of substitutions? Sometimes you can do that and make mistakes. But when we brought on the substitutions, it didn't give us the kick that we needed. And apart from Tierney, they were all poor. But I think what it does now is it tells me that Tierney has to play left back now.
Yeah, I was getting a load of abuse for it. I don't really know why, if I'm honest. I really like Kieran Tierney. I don't think people do for some reason now. So they seem to want to have a go. But I thought that it was quite obvious that Kieran Tierney was a good left back. He came on and proved why he was a threat. And I think that down that right-hand side, Southampton was struggling with Martinelli. And I'd love to have seen Tierney getting up there, because Tomiyasu, I love him, but he don't cross the halfway line. So there was no threat, really. So I think he needs to play. When it comes to it, though, Lee, in January, if we don't sign anyone, do you think that will have a massive effect on our season?
Well, look, listen. If we don't sign anybody in January, we won't win the Europa League, and we won't get in top four. That's you're going to have to pick one of them and gamble on it, like, you know, and that would be ridiculous to do. Like, you know, don't forget you got the FA Cup and hopefully still the League Cup, because we've got Brighton just before the World Cup. If we win that, we go into that round and all, like, you know. So you're playing on two fronts at the moment. Come January, you're playing on four. You know, the squad's not strong enough. It's not big enough. We know that, like, you know, so it needs to be improved. You know, you can't be playing Partey 1 week, and then you know you got to be playing him, and then we know what's going to happen. He's going to play in 3 or 4 games in 2 weeks and break down. You know, I think you know, like Smith Rowe will come back obviously in over the World Cup. He'll be fit. I think he's been a big loss, because when he comes on from the bench, he's quality. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you could argue that he should be in the team somewhere along the line. The argument is where, but he should be in it. You know what I mean? But like, again, come on Wednesday night, you know what I mean, he would be a definite starter, and someone would be getting a rest. But you know, one of those front three has got to carry on playing every week. You know what I mean? Like, because you know, like Marquinhos hasn't really been given the opportunities again. You know what I mean? Like, started off really a bit like Martinelli did, and then we ain't seen him since. It's a bit frustrating. Reece Nelson, well, you know, just is not going to cut it as far as I'm concerned. And Eddie, that would be my front three on Thursday, and see what you can do. And as I said, you know what I mean, like, if we don't win that game, we don't win it. You know what I mean? But as soon as someone said in the chat, then you can't take a gamble in Zurich in between the Chelsea and Wolves game. So it's a real different, you know, I don't know, Dan, really. It's a real difficult situation what to do. You know, if you can go over there and get the result, and then, you know, listen, I don't see any way now we're going to blast Nottingham Forest over. It's going to be a real struggling
Mhm.
game, I think, because of those
Well,
reasons.
I will say this, Lee. Like, it ain't all doom and gloom, and it is like a bit negative at the
No,
moment
no,
because of
no,
how we're
not at
feeling.
all.
But it ain't all doom and gloom. We're still top of the league. Everyone's dropped points by City, which is a bit frustrating, but we're still top of the league, right? But I think the way we're playing at the moment, I'm hoping anyway, this is with this first 11 is poor, which means that we're only going to get better. Now, at the moment, we're poor and we ain't losing games still. Do you know what I'm saying? So we've been poor against Leeds today in parts, midweek in parts. We've won all the games and we ain't lost one today. So that must be a good thing. So if we
Yeah,
are going to now get back to our old ways, that means we're going to be winning games comfortably again. So I'm looking at that now, thinking actually, I know that we're down and we're peed off about officials and the way that we missed chances and in some areas of the game, the way that we played. But actually, if we do get our rest in this week, and I wouldn't be going to PSV with a strong side, I know we want to win the group and all that, I get it. We should be able to beat PSV the way I saw them on Thursday night with a second string team, mate. They were shockingly bad, in my opinion, right? So they should have now our first 11, whatever he wants to pick against Forest for a first 11. I don't want to see hardly any of them playing. I only want to see the ones that have to 100% play, right? Whether that's the Granit Xhaka, for example, because you ain't got anybody else in the middle, right? Everybody else needs to get rest. And then you go again against Forest. Because for me, at Forest at home, I know they've just beaten Liverpool and they're on a high, but they ain't playing well. Liverpool were shambolic, mate, right?
yeah.
So we should be able to beat them comfortably. I want to see at least a two or a 3 goal lead win against them. I don't want it to be a brush across 1-0. I want this to be like a 4-1 or even a 4-0 or a 3-0. I don't want this to be we scrape past Forest because I know they've picked it up and I like Steve Cooper. I love what he's done there. But they are a poor side, mate. And we got to prove that they're a poor side and prove that we're a good side again and go and beat them comfortably. And then we move on to Chelsea and Wolves and worry about Brighton and all that after that. But Forest, for me, is the one that we look back and go, Arsenal are back. They've just beaten them 4-0. And that's what I want to see. Jesus back scoring, Saka and Martinelli playing alongside him the way that we've seen this season. And you pick it up from there. And then all of a sudden, okay, Arsenal have had their blip. And do you know what? They've only lost to Man United and dropped points at Southampton still. They're still top of the league. That's what I'm kind of hoping because at the moment, a lot of the people are down. And we're a bit worried because we've seen bits like this before. And there's parts of the old Arsenal that are coming back. So that has frustrated people. But I don't think we need to be completely down and out about this because we ain't lost a game. We're still top of the league, Lee.
No, 100%. And if you really look at it, like no one had a meltdown when Villa lost to when Villa drew with Man City, Villa and drew. Who else did City draw? Drawn another game. Can't remember who it's with.
Newcastle.
Newcastle. So that's a tough place. So we say that is they proved that today, and of course they lost to Liverpool, who anybody can lose at Anfield. Let's be honest. But they've lost to Aston Villa. What they've done is they're dusting themselves down and gone again, and that's what we've got to do. Just dust ourselves down and go again. Even though when I look back at that Villa game, they probably deserved a point out of that Aston Villa. To be fair, they didn't have anything going against them like the decisions that we've had going against us today. You know what I mean? So I think at the end of the day, this let's take it as it is. You know what I mean? We should have won the game. We should have had things go our way, but we've not lost. And every ground that we've gone to this season, we've improved on. If we match all of our same results as we do now to the end of the season, we'd be 7 points better off than what we were last season. So from that point of view, it ain't too bad, is it? Maybe even more than that because we beat Liverpool at
Well,
home as well. So
you got
10
Liverpool
points.
at home as well, I was going to say. And then you got
Yeah, so
You got Bournemouth away, which I know they weren't in the league last year. But the last time they were, we used to struggle at their ground, Lee. I remember getting
yeah,
last minute equalisers and losing games there. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. You know what I mean, and I do agree with what people are saying. You know what I mean. We listen. We was poor there. I don't know what it is about that ground. I don't like about it. I don't like going there. I don't like the ground. I don't like what it's about. And that's why I think one of the reasons I didn't go to daylight. You know what I mean? Like I remember going up there once when it snowed. Do you know what I mean? Like, and there was
Oh,
lorries parked on the M25, and we was dodging them all, like, spinning around and managed somehow to get there at half time. Won that game, by the way. But yeah, it's just not for happy hunting ground. I don't know why. It's just not like. So listen, we come away from that. We take. We move on. What we've got to do now is make sure that we win. And this would be very, very interesting to see how he manages this game on Thursday. What does he do? What does he do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, Dan, it's not so much the Thursday game that's the problem. It's the after. Like, we've got like 4 days now to recover
I agree.
to Thursday. It's not the problem. You know what I mean? The problem is he's only got like a day and a half afterwards. The one good thing about this game now is in Europe is that for the first time in a couple of games now, we've got we play in Europe and then we're at home. Like the last 2 games, we've been away, played in Europe, we've been away from home. So it's a different, you're traveling a little bit more and everything like that. So I don't know what he's going to do on this one really. And as I say, and I'm gonna go whatever. If he goes for a strong side and we get through, then great. If he goes for a strong side and we lose, then we're in a little bit of trouble. Or if he goes takes the gamble and says, right, let's play a weakened team and see what we can do from there. Like, PSV, by the way, their last game's in Bodo, and if Bodo win against Zurich, it's all to play for. If Arsenal don't win that, if Arsenal win that game, they actually could go out. So they're going to be really up for this game, PSV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, at home as well. So this is going to be an interesting game, really interesting game.
Well, I think we'll be fine in European competition. It's all about what we're doing in the league at the moment. And I feel personally like we have dropped off a bit in certain games, but it ain't absolute nightmare. And I think we still could be proud of what we've seen. There's a couple of super chats coming that I want to take now, Lee. First one, I think, is from Chaitanya. As always, Chaitanya always puts in a super chat. If Dave's going to put it up.
Dave here, or is he?
Or Lee, can you put it up?
Right, where is it? Dave's disappeared.
If you go to the start, if you go to the start where it says live and then starred and then click on it, there you go. We also looked tired in the second half. Same happened versus Leeds. Party was poor, and this heavy schedule is catching on. We need depth ASAP for the title charge. I thought this was spot on from Chaitanya Lee. I thought Thomas Partey was so poor in the second half. Outstanding in the first half, by the way. So poor in the second half that you think he needs to come off or something. We've got to change it. There's no one. There's no one, mate. Lokonga is not a number 6. So he's like, I'm going to have to leave him on because there's literally nobody else to come into it. So I get what you're saying there. Heavy schedules catching on potentially. But at the same time, they have really been playing 1 game a week, these lads. Do you know what I mean? So I do think this squad is very, very thinly. And what has worried me all season, how thin we are.
Yeah, and listen, you know what I mean? I'm with you on that, like, you know what I mean? Listen, let's just talk about Thomas Partey for 1 second, like, you know what I mean? He's not playing. He come on for 10 minutes the other day, like, you know what I mean? He's still obviously catching up on his fitness, you know what I mean? Like, and this is my problem with Thomas Partey. When he gets fit and he can go 90 minutes, he'll get injured again, and we have to go through all this process again. So I don't want to see him in that game, you know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, Dan, when he's playing on form like he was in that first half, look at our Arsenal play. Arsenal's performances drop with his fitness as well. Look, he was anonymous in the second half. Anonymous.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he was.
We've got to manage him right, and it's a problem for Mikel to manage that, So it's a good super chat though.
It is, and so is this one from Sam Bond. Thank you very much, Sam. Says the last few games have been poor. Poor against Southampton, not clinical against PSV, lucky against Leeds, beat a struggling Liverpool and a 10-man Tottenham. I'm not believing the hype. We have to beat Nottingham Forest. A little bit harsh, I would say, in parts.
A little bit harsh. A little bit
you know
harsh
what I mean?
Because, Liverpool played well that day. I think that
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. Tottenham, forget about the 10-men thing. We was beating them anyway. As they've played 4 decent teams in the league so far this season. Tottenham. They've played Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United, and Newcastle. They've not won one of them. So there you go.
Yeah.
So like Leeds was a difficult place, but is that another one or?
Luke says we're not in a title charge. Says certainly not if we can't even cope with the Europa League when we don't even play our Premier League team from the start. I kind of get where people are going with that because I do feel like everyone. Right, this is what I think of this. A lot of people have said to me, wait till Arsenal get their Europa League games, or they'll find it tough. But actually, our Premier League team are playing one week, and then our Europa League team are playing another. We ain't been mixing it that much, in my opinion, yet. I know that we've
No.
seen a couple of people getting it, but all the other teams have been playing 2-3 games a week at times. So we haven't. We haven't used that same 11 for 3 games a week, have we? We've been
No,
using
no,
Holding, Turner.
no.
We've been seeing different fullbacks every week in the Premier League and Europa League. So I don't look at it and think, wow, how the hell are we're doing this? We've got this team is still playing every single game. It's not. We're using, I think he's done quite well, Mikel, personally, rotation wise. So we shouldn't be this knackered for me. Listen,
No, I don't think we should be again anybody that's getting onto the manager at this moment in time and the players and all that. Come on, you know what I mean? Like we've had a little blip today, and as I said, I think there's circumstances for that, but ultimately we haven't lost. You know what I mean? And I've got to say this: I thought we played really well in the first half. I thought we did. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I think that Shinchenko apparently was at the ground today. You know what I mean? So does that mean he's close to getting to fitness or not? I don't know. Or it could look the other way down when he's nowhere near fit, so he's come to watch the game. So
Yeah,
we need
him back. We need him. Him and Smith Rowe have been big losses, I think.
Yeah, I think we need him back. I like to see Cedric having some sort of minutes on Thursday. As I say, I don't want to see Kieran Tierney playing on Thursday because that means then he probably won't play Sunday. And let's see what happens. But listen, at this moment in time, the manager has done really well. We're still top of the league. We're still 2 points clear. It ain't all doom and gloom. The one thing that I'm
far from it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like we're all a little bit disappointed with what's happened today. You know what I mean. Not so much the way it was. You know what I mean. It's just the way it's happened today. I don't think we deserve to not win that game today. But then again, probably last week we deserved to drop points, Dan. So the last 2 weeks have evened themselves out.
Listen, if you would have told me, Lee, 11 games in, you're going to win 9 of them, lose to United and draw to Southampton, I'd have go on then. I'll take that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
top of the league,
yeah.
man. Top of the league, mate. That's the way you look at it. And we keep going. And, people are saying in the chat, Tanya said about, come on, Saka's played like 4 games a week and all that. Yeah, Saka and Xhaka are the only 2, though, by the way. Man City, Chelsea, all these other teams around us have been playing those players 3 games a week, and there's about 11 of them. So, we've been quite lucky. We've been able to rotate less in the Europa League than the others have.
Yeah.
I don't think they would be able to play a Champions League game with those players.
Yeah, exactly, and it's true what people are saying in chat. We have to up our game. We know that. We've got to produce better performances in the second half. We know that. But the first half was very, very good against Leeds, and it was even better on this occasion. You know what I mean? But take our chances today. We come away 3 or 4-1 up there, and everybody's saying what a great performance is. So it is a little bit. It's disappointing because we've gone to a team that I expected us to beat and we haven't. You know what I mean? That's why I'm disappointed today. But at the end of the day, this not go too overboard about it. What it is now is this get the result against Nottingham Forest next week, and then go to Chelsea. If we win, listen. At the end of the day, now if we go and beat Forest and we go and beat Chelsea and we go and beat Wolves. 10 points out of those 4 games you'd have took anyway, Dan. So it's still
yeah, absolutely.
A good chance. If we win our next 3 games, we stay top. It's going to be tough to stay top of the league going into the World Cup. But that was not the aim at the beginning of the season. For me, it was to be in the top 4 come the World Cup. But we look like we're going to get that. But what we've got to do now, it's still to be top of the league in the next to the World Cup is win our next 3. and that'd be fantastic. But listen, we're up against a machine in the Manchester City as far as the title's concerned. When people say, "Oh, like, do you think you're going to win the league?" I don't think any Arsenal fan generally thinks that we're going to win it, but we want to be in with a chance of winning it.
And I
in this
think,
moment
Lee,
in
that's
time,
why I
we
want to
will.
put pressure on Kroenkes and Arteta and everyone now, saying, look, have you not seen that this is an unbelievable chance? None of us expected to be here. Don't just go, "Ugh, fourth will do still." No, fourth will not do. We're top of the league. We got a great chance. Go out in January. We've got 3 games left. Then the window's open. And you go and get 2 or 3 players in. I don't care who they are, but you go and get players. I'm not the scout. I could tell you 3 people that I'd go and get if you want, but I'm not the scout. Arteta and Edu need to look now and go, right, those 3 players are going to take us to have a real good go at Man City here. And if we don't get it, we'll come second and everyone's happy. Yeah? Those 3 players are going to allow us not just to come second, but win that Europa League because we're the best team in it. And we're going to prove
Yeah,
that we're
I
the best
agree.
team in it. That's
Totally
what I
agree.
want to see. None of this. Tell you what, I've done unbelievably well here. I don't really think we need anyone in January. We'll come fourth, and that's all right. I don't want
No,
that
no,
attitude. I do not
no.
want that crap. Yeah. We got an unbelievable chance here. Arteta has proved a lot of people wrong, and he's changing a lot of opinions, and rightly so, including mine, that he can coach, and he has got the right first 11 here, but it needs a lot more than 14 players, mate. And we need to try and get as close to 20 players as we can in the next 2 windows for me to have a real chance of Man City. If we can't do it this year, next year. That's what we want to be. We want to beat up. None of this, oh, top 4. When have we ever wanted to be in the top 4? I never ever want to be fourth. Fourth is crap. You've got 3 people ahead of you. Yeah. I've never ever grew up, Lee, going fourth. Get the champagne out quick. I never did that. I used to hate it. I used to go, we've got bloody 3 teams ahead of us here that we cannot get near it. But people now, I think, have listened to Wenger over the years, bit younger fans, and now they're like, fourth is all right. Fourth is good. It gives you Champions League. I don't want that. I think if we're in a title race right now, I want to stay in it as long as we can. I think the only way we're going to do that, mate, is by trying to add players in January. But what I wanted to do was get your opinion quickly on where you think things are at the moment, because I'm looking behind us, mate, and it ain't like we're 12 points clear of everyone. We are literally, mate, like a few points behind like the Newcastles who are chasing up. They've done brilliantly today. Spurs are obviously there or thereabouts. Man City, you've got Chelsea, you've got Man United. It's a good season, man. It's going to be tight. I can't lie. So, what's your thoughts on like where people are and where you think people are fighting for at the moment? Like, just have a bit of a rundown of how everyone's doing, including this weekend.
How I look at it, we're still very much on track. We are, I'm more than happy where we are. I think Manchester City would be saying the same. I think then when you look at the third and fourth, Spurs now, we're 5 points clear of Spurs with a game in hand at this moment in time. I'm happy with that. Everybody felt that Spurs were going to be the team and all that. They've got more problems than us, Dan, by the way, at this moment in time. More problems. They've just lost at home, which is a big blow for them. We've got to go away next game against Bournemouth. Not going to be easy. We'll see how that is. I think a team to watch. I thought was very impressed with what I see today of Newcastle. They look pretty good. They're in fourth now. I looked at Chelsea and Man United yesterday. I watched that with interest. I'm going to say that now. I thought Manchester United were by far the better team. By far the better team. Should have won it but again, you could look at them and say Rashford missed chances. Which he didn't, by the way, when he played against us. But took them really well. So at this moment in time, I think Liverpool too inconsistent at the moment, but I still wouldn't write them off of it, they're capable of getting on a run. But at the moment, I think, I said the top 4 would be Manchester City, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Liverpool. I think Liverpool are probably going to slip out of it now, if I'll be honest. And I'm gonna put in a couple of. What I'm seeing at the moment, if I was a betting man, I would say Manchester City, Arsenal, Newcastle, and Manchester United would be the 4 at this moment in time.
Do you know what? It's mad, isn't it? Because if you would have said that at the start of the season, everyone would have thought you were loony. And we're 11 games in. And you're right. They're the 4 teams at the moment, in my opinion, that are playing the best football. And I know there's some other teams in the that have surprised. I think Fulham have really surprised this season. A lot of people. They've been a surprise package. Brentford have started to drop off a couple of times, but I thought they were right up there. Brighton, likewise. Now Potter's gone. Not really up there as much as you'd thought they would have been in terms of the results, but certainly up there as far as the table's concerned. But when you look at the big boys, I think you're right. Chelsea, I thought yesterday when he took Cucurella off, they started to play a bit better, but they were really poor, like really, really poor.
Yeah,
Man
I'm with you on
United,
that.
I still don't think they click in. I still think there's a lot of holes there. Liverpool look unbelievably poor. I mean, they're going to struggle to get in the top 4 this season if they carry on. So I think you're right there. Newcastle, that's what I wanted to quickly touch on, man.
Mm.
Hello, Newcastle, mate. Newcastle
Hello,
haven't
and be
even
worried.
be worried, mate. Be worried. Not this season for a league, but trust me, mate. It ain't going to be long before they're going to be Champions League, fighting for trophies, and then going for titles. And they're going to do it just like Chelsea and Man City did it when everyone laughed and went, "No chance." Man United, they're going to win it for years to come. Newcastle, mate, are playing unbelievably good football with some fantastic players, with a spine that Eddie Howe's put together that looks fantastic. I think Pope, Botman, Bruno Guimaraes, Almiron, and of course Callum Wilson today was superb. He's great. They've got Isak. They've brought Trippier in. They've got Shah, who's playing well. Dan Burns been fantastic for them. They've got players like St. Maximan that wasn't even in the team today. Isak wasn't even in the team today. They're looking a right handful, mate. And I know Eddie Howe gets a lot of praise for what he did at Bournemouth. I think he deserves a hell of a lot of praise what he's done at Newcastle. Last season, they were superb towards the end of the back end of the season. This season, playing all right, had some real tough games, gave Man City their run for their money and got a draw. And at the moment, mate, they're looking very, very difficult. It ain't looking like a nice place to go at the moment, Newcastle.
Very, very good. And also, I will say this: do you think Arsenal would go to Tottenham and win without Jesus?
Wow.
With
There you
their
go.
backup striker? With our backup striker, their main
Well,
striker
no,
is not even.
because they got
Well,
Isak. There you go. So they got Isak and Callum Wilson, and we got Jesus and Eddie. So their
yeah,
backup striker is Callum Wilson, and ours is
uh,
Eddie. Oh
and
no, that's unreal,
Isaac
isn't it?
today wasn't missed at all. Wasn't
No,
missed
he
at all.
weren't. No,
So that's what you're competing with, and all credit to them. I think with Newcastle at the moment, they've recruited really well. They've not gone mad about it, like and are just doing it bit by bit. And I think that who's ever said that, that's how we're going to do it. And I think that it's probably a way to go. That'd be interesting to see what happens in the next year as far as Eddie Hearn's concerned, whether they're going to actually
Eddie
keep with
Howe,
him
you mean?
because
Not Eddie Hearn. Eddie
Eddie Hearn,
Howe.
sorry, I mean, I've had a yeah, Eddie Hearn, Eddie Howe, sorry. I think that they've got a decision to make in a couple of years, because is he going to push them that little bit further? But fair play to him,
At the
what I mean?
moment, though, it's going well, isn't it, for him?
It's going well, and more than impressed with him today. What I see of it, I didn't see all of the game, but I see bits of it, and yeah, what I mean. Listen, going to Tottenham's a good result, then. You know what I mean? Like, don't care what anybody says. So we'll have to
Of course.
wait and see for them, But at the moment, we've got a little bit of a point start on them, which I'm pleased with, and we've got to continue to keep doing that, So
And do you know,
we're
I
in a
spoke
good
to
position
Pete.
ourselves at this moment in time.
Oh, of course
I
we are.
still
I
say
spoke
this,
to
Dan,
Pete.
we're playing the best
Go
football.
on. Listen, I agree. I think if you was to look across the 11 games, who's playing the best football, everyone would say Arsenal. They would say Arsenal and Man City. They would,
Yeah.
100%.
I
So, and
thought we was
Newcastle
brilliant in
deserve
the
a lot of
first
credit for
half.
that.
Man.
I thought, yeah, we were
Brilliant.
brilliant in the first half. We were dominating, mate. And it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. Just lastly as well, they were saying a Newcastle mate of mine says he's been told Newcastle are going all out for Zaha, Tielemans, and Madison in January, not in the summer, in January. Now, if they get them free in January, Newcastle, hello Newcastle. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
The
Welcome
other
to the
thing, Lee,
party.
yeah, welcome to the party. The other thing is Lee Conte. It's not looking too good for him, mate. I'm
Right.
not really a one who slates him because I do think his CV speaks for itself. But he's struggling at the moment, and long may it
Did
continue, mate.
Did you see
Spurs,
his interview today?
no.
Well, if you ever get a chance to have a look at it, he's just waffling, totally waffling. I thought, what are you going on about? You know what I mean? Like, you're just totally waffling about things and all that. Like, you know what I mean? Great to see. Long way to continue. And I can tell you that now. I spoke to a couple of Spurs fans today that I know, like, they're restless, Dan. They're restless. They're restless.
They are, mate, and long may it continue. And before we do go, do you think he'll stay there past this season, whatever
No,
happens, Conte?
no, no.
Yeah, I've always said that, but I've always said that Toby reckons he will. He'll stay. He's going to sign a new contract or something, but we'll have to see what happens. But
No.
at the moment, mate, if he's going to stay, I don't really care because it ain't going well for him. I'll say that now. They are terrible to watch. They were awful today again. Absolutely awful. So
Good, innit?
brilliant stuff, mate. Brilliant stuff. Long may it continue. That's the only
Yeah.
thing today, wasn't it? Like after that, we were so pissed
Yeah,
off,
it
me
made
and
me
you.
feel a little bit better. I'll tell you what, I felt a little bit better when they lost. I'm not going to lie. I enjoy it when they lose. Of course I do.
Of course.
But then I've got in and I've just seen that penalty thing and it's just wound me up again, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because it's what could have been, you know what I mean? We could have been 2-0 up, down to 10 men, we'd have been in a good position. But that's the way it is. So be it, like, you know what I mean? I'm really interested to see what happens over the next day or so when they're talking about that, like, you know what I mean? But we all know it was a penalty and it should have been a penalty.
100%. Lee, little bit of therapy. Really good chatting with you. Great to see everybody in the chat as well. Great to see the comments. Superb to see super chats.
Unbelievable
Please
comments
smash a
tonight,
like.
by the way, guys.
Yeah, really good comments, guys. Really, really good. Some great ones coming in. And I think everybody shares the frustration of the referees, but also accepts that we did miss some chances. So one of those days at the office, and let's hope we can put it right and bounce back against Forest in the league. And of course, PSV before that. Smash a like on your way out. People, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Please come and support my new podcast if you can do as well, which is at Football's 12 Man Pod. That would be superb. And until then, we'll see you next time. And up the Arsenal. Take it easy.